Welcome everyone. Welcome to the panel Entrepreneurship in Latin America. I am Fernando Moreno, a venture fellow here at Newchip, and I will be leading this panel. Today, we'll be talking about the challenges and advantages of being an entrepreneur in Latin America, as well as ups and downs of fundraising in the region and the biggest mistakes to avoid when starting your company. Without further ado, it is a great pleasure for me to introduce our special guest. Our first guest is Tania Sapien Bravo, the founder and chief commercial officer of Coco, an exclusive line of jewelry in Mexico. Tania has focused in empowering women's business growth through Coco's network marketing and franchising business model. Today, her company has over 4,000 female entrepreneurs. Tania not only is the CCO, but also designs all the jewels for the company and is mom of a beautiful girl. She is also one of the few entrepreneurs that successfully fundraised at Shark Tank Mexico, reaching an agreement with Arturo Elias Ayub, a distinguished Mexican businessman. Our second guest is Raphael Coelho. He is founder and CEO of TutorMundi, a platform that connects middle and high school students who need academic support with undergrad students from top Brazilian universities for a live interaction. As of today, TutorMundi provides students with over 2,000 tutors. And Raphael has over 10 years of diverse software development, engineering, management experience. He holds an engineering degree from the Universidad Federal de Santa Catarina and an MBA degree from the Wharton INSEAD Alliance program. And most importantly, he's also a graduate from Newchip Accelerator program. Our third and final guest is Hector Cuevas González, a partner at Deloitte Legal Mexico, focused on banking and finance, M&A, corporate governance, and foreign investment matters across several industries. He is currently spearheading Deloitte's efforts to legally advise startups in Latin America. Hector also holds a Bachelor degree of Laws from Universidad Panamericana and a Master of Laws from Queen Mary College London. Thanks everyone for being here today. To kick off this panel, I would like to start by drawing on your knowledge and experience. Most of our viewers today are familiarized with the theory behind starting, growing, fundraising a company, but we want to hear how it is starting a company in practice. After having all this real-world experience, how would you describe the ideal roadmap to successfully starting a business in Latin America? What are those nuances that change when compared to what books and gurus say? Raphael, if you want to start.
Well, Fernando, thanks for having me, first of all. And I don't know, I think I wish I could have a whiteboard here right now so I could draw a graph and in the middle, a fuzzy area where I can't see anything. And basically this is what happens, right? It never goes the way you planned. That's the truth. It takes more time than you planned and more money. That's always the case.
Absolutely.
At least in my point of view. Yes, in one quick phrase, I would say this. Of course, there's much more that we will talk during this panel, but just as a very first intro, this is what an entrepreneur should expect.
Absolutely. Tania?
Well, I think that the books definitely have the basis to do what must be done, but they still have a long way to go to describe the between the lines of what actually happens. And I mean the passion and determination that you must develop once you start, because you don't learn that in books. They have also taught us that we must be perfect and not fail. That's why everyone is so afraid of failure. I would say the more failures, the more resilient you will be, and that if it's necessary for success in your company.
Hector, any words of advice from an advisor of startups?
Absolutely, yeah, and I do agree with what Tania was saying in terms of passion and how important it is to do it without the fear of failure, which is essential when you're starting a business and running a business. I'll say that different, and I think my co-panelists would agree, it's that the biggest issue when it comes to real world, it's of course time, money, and effort that you were not expecting. You will, in a way, try to expand. However, when it comes to the different aspects and the different variables that came into business, it's something that you were not even familiar with at the moment you were starting with an idea. So depending on your model type and the business type you're trying to run, I'll say that you have to be very cautious in selecting not just the right investor, but also the right legal figure, how many regulations will be around your business, another that comes around that, such as the supply chain and many others that are essential when you're trying to run a new business and become a matter of essence. A good idea can be killed because of many factors: tax, accounting, legal, commercial. But once you think on your project as a whole, you can do it in a more holistic way.
Absolutely. And also one of the topics I wanted to address during the panel are the challenges faced in Latin America countries in terms of the resources that maybe you can give for granted in other countries. For example, the information regarding market data is not as complete in Latin American countries when compared with the US, for example, or other European countries. How have you dealt with the lack of this type of information when doing your business plan specifically?
Yeah, well, I would say that honestly, I didn't felt the lack of data. And frankly speaking, when you go to an investor, right, and even when you were planning what are your next steps, you were looking for a general, basic, big number to calculate the total addressable market, basically. And you want to understand if that product that you were creating or the startup that you were creating has at least the potential to attract a big chunk of that market, right? So this lack of information, at least in my case, didn't have much impact. You know, it's good. At the end of the day, it's gonna have very little difference whether there are 28 or 32 million students in the country. So yeah, yes, sure. I would say that the lack of information, at least in the education market where I am, was not an issue.
For you, Tania, what were your challenges when doing that market research for knowing if your business was going to be profitable or not?
Well, it is definitely a challenge. In Mexico, simply opening a company can take you months, when I know that in the United States, you can do it in one day. Something important is, for me, it was to establish, processes that allow you to carry out the work that it is necessary for development of your company. While it may require more time invested, it is an advantage for all what you learn in the process. What I experienced, for an example, in downtown in Mexico City, is there are a lot of women going into downtown and buying and reselling, right? So that's where I put my eye, and that's why my business started.
And obviously, this lack of available knowledge is not only about the market, but also about the legal requirements of the new companies and newly founders need to satisfy. How do you see startups addressing this lack of understanding of their legal obligations sector?
Yeah, I'll say that's an essential. As I was saying before, it's at the moment you see your business as a whole, from the corporate stand, from the governance point of view, from the way in which you will structure your transactions in order to make them more suitable for investors. You start changing the way in which you think. And something I would like to point out when it comes to the legal structuring, it's although sometimes simple in terms of the structure they use, the problems that startups face, it's not simple. Also, from a regulatory point of view, when you go to fintech companies, to certain regulated companies, but also thus it's not easy. As Tania was saying before, you get to open a company, to set up a company here in Mexico, you take almost a month, and then to open a bank account, you have to finish the KYC process, and it's the first time you do that. So sometimes it's 6 to 8 weeks just to have a bank account in these countries. And on the other hand, although some prices here in Latin America are cheaper, it is true that highly sophisticated services are not. So it's something important you to get into balance, and something that also big companies need to get into to attack the startup market. But from the vision of a startup company, what you need to understand is that you need, at the moment you decide to pursue an idea within a structure, to have a suitable structure for your future investors, to have at least a company set up, an important administration in which you can add extra tiers and levels, not to transform, not to have a company conversion in the future, and also a way in which you can keep control of your company while opening it to others, which is something essential. This is, I'll say, from a corporate and legal point of view, the essential part of what we do as corporate lawyers assisting startups.
This as a follow-up for the founders, when you were starting your recruiting process, obviously there is a lot of talent, not only from the universities, but in the real world, that when you offer them this opportunity, maybe they are very excited to be part of your project, but at the same time, there is certain uncertainty. So because of that, they decide to go to a more reputable firm or a more stable big corporation. What has been your approach to dealing with this issue that talent is not trying to risk entering a startup because of the volatility and the not secure income in the future?
Do you want to go first in this one, Tania?
Well, yeah, I live that every day, because for me it's to train your team. In other words, to train the team knowing that the necessary talent can start within my company. For specific things, maybe I can go with an outsourcing company. But I fully believe that people within the company who were able to start from the bottom and have demonstrated their loyalty to the company can learn, knowing, of course, their potential, the skills necessary to fit your needs. So I always train my people. I always work. I love leadership. So I keep going from that way.
I have something to add to this as well. I would say that people would be surprised to see how much talent. Of course, there's this need for training, but we will be surprised to see how much talent there is in Latin America. I remember my very first job overseas was in Germany. I was working as a software engineer, and I was working in Fraunhofer Institute. And I was surprised to see basically a room full of people from Latin America, working. And I was asking myself why these people are developing all this amazing technology here and not there, right? So then I realized that it's not just the talent, but there's also the legal aspect, the business models aspect of it. Anyways, now, having said that, there is, in my opinion, a lack of talent in some specific areas that in a startup are essential. For example, product development, product marketing, growth. These three areas. It's very hard to find people in these areas. And what adds to this challenge is the fact that there's very few people that made money on equity. So it's very hard to come up to a senior guy and say, hey, I'm going to pay you this much in salary and this much in equity. He's going to look around and he will find no one that got a good money because he or she worked in a startup before and made a good exit. So you need to educate the people. You need to tell them, hey, this is what happens. This is how the stock options work. This is the potential that you can make. You need to basically educate everyone about this. So I would say that these are the main challenges that I faced in terms of talent.
Absolutely. And just as with people that are part of your company, the outsourcer providers that also generate they have a big impact on the company's culture, especially those that have a lot of interaction with the founders that are involved in the strategic decision-making processes. They're also important to evaluate when selecting them. So in your opinion, what should founders take into account when evaluating candidates for being specifically their lawyer? It's I would say, like in Mexico, in the rest of the world, it's a required evil, but they exist to save you in the future.
We're always civil, and that's important to say. Yeah. If you see a lawyer in front of you, of course it is because you're doing things extremely right or extremely wrong. That's something important you have to focus on.
No,
However,
they are going to help you in the future. So it's
absolutely
it's
and I think that the best way to choose, and there are some lawyers that are open to get a part in equity and then be part of the exit. And of course, there are a lot of smaller or medium-sized firms that are open even to having certain fintech mechanisms in the way they charge you and these things. But something that I say is important from a legal point of view, it's also that relationship that exists from I'll say the financial part of your business, which is essential for any business, but for startups, it's basically the way in which they will live and they will escalate. And also the lack or the non-lack of governmental support. And the biggest problem when it's come to not only to law firms, but to choosing the right country to develop your brand or to develop your business, it's basically the one that can give you. So basically what happens is that a certain percent of startups fail in early stages because they do not have enough funding to move into to an expansion stage. But however, funding, although it comes from venture capitalists, and that has also a very important part in governmental regulation towards startups, to the way in which you can open and accelerate your business in 5-10 seconds. Certain tax incentives that is also important in where you choose the country you're in. And while choosing your lawyer, I'll say an important part for you as not only as a legal counsel, but you need, and something that both founders here in this call will agree with me, I think, it's that you need to be multitasking. So basically, as a founder, you need to be smarter than your lawyer and your venture capitalists, as it says in a book, but also in a way in which you can address the business, not only from a legal point of view or from an economic point of view. As a lawyer, in my case, you need to understand financial modeling at its basis. You need to start, for example, at something that's very relevant in Latin America, it's country risk factors. So Damodaran models that are very important at this point in time for you to better understand why am I going to pay an extra in certain financing structures. And also that it's highly relevant. It's also what regulations or what prices can I run out. And something that it's very important for startups in Latin America, what are the risks I can take and what are the risks I cannot? Because otherwise you're government. So while having a counsel, not just from the legal part, but also from the accounting side or the financial part, you need someone to think, again, in a holistic way, to try to understand your business as a unit, and also to assist you more than just in a contractual way.
Absolutely. Raphael and Tania, do you have any advice for the viewers in which elements they should focus when selecting a lawyer? If you had any problems with a previous lawyer, please share it with us. And what was your lesson from that?
I will wait for to answer.
My turn this time?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This is something I'm very interested of.
Well, I was very lucky to, I believe, I received a very good advice when I was doing my MBA at INSEAD Wharton Alliance program. I remember that one of the professors of entrepreneurship said very clearly, the first thing you do is to hire a lawyer. And I was, wow, of course not. I need to build a product. I need to have customers. I need to pitch. I need to do a bunch of stuff, right? And he said, and remember to not hire your cousin, right? And at the end of the day, and he said, at the end of the day, this is going to be a battle of knowledge, right? This is going to be a battle of those who really understand the rules of the game. So right after the MBA program, I moved to Silicon Valley because I thought, you know what, I want to build a huge company. The place to build huge companies is in Silicon Valley. So I moved there and I lost all my money there. I can share more things later on. But basically, there is a very interesting thing going on in Silicon Valley. And I hope that this trend starts in Latin America as well. Because there are so many lawyers of startups, they accept intros, pitches, exactly as if they were investors. You know, you go there, you have a meeting with them, you do your pitch, and if they believe in you, they say, okay, here's a $5,000 credit or a $10,000 credit, usually from 5 to 10,000, you know, just to do the very beginning of it, just to structure the company, put the founders on it, and receive the very first investment, the angel, the very first angel, the very first convertible note, you know. And if you fail to raise any money, then all that debt goes to the company that you just shut down. So I did that. I reached out to my network and I asked who is the best lawyer that you can recommend me for startups. We ended up hiring an attorney from Shepherd Mullin. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but Shepherd Mullin did the IPO of Alibaba, you know, basically. And of course, it's not the same lawyers, the same attorneys, but it's the same office. The knowledge is there somehow, you know. And all the fundraisings, we did 2 fundraisings so far, and all of them, we received this feedback from investors. Wow, you guys hire a very knowledgeable attorney. It was a tough negotiation. You are well backed off, right? So I would say this: don't hire your cousin as much as you love him.
Absolutely, it sounds it was a good investment.
Yeah, and try to get this compromise from the attorney, right? You can say, hey, I'm a founder. I don't have money. I want some credit. If I raise money, I pay you. If I don't, I won't pay you.
And I think that's essential also for law firms from this side of the table. Something that we've seen before. For example, in Mexico with National Entrepreneurship Institute, we already lost in 2018. However, it worked quite well for 7 years. Something very, very important. It's part of the grant we were pursuing for certain of our clients. I mean, we helped them with the filing in order to have a grant for different institutions. In this case, the Ministry of Economy was in order to pay us. But it's important to take that risk and to bet on someone. That's important, and I agree with you. Also, something relevant, and sometimes people see pro bono as just doing the social work or social care, which is absolutely important. However, the way in which we're trying to see pro bono at this point in time in early stages, there are huge technological companies which at last will not need pro bono at all. But at this point in time, investment in a pre-seed or a seed round will be also very important from a counseling perspective. So if you have a good counseling at this point in time, as you have already experienced, I think you can have a good client for the rest of your life, but also you have done something for society as a big corporation or a company with this type of pro bono focus more on small to medium investment companies. And when the government is, where you're lacking of support from the government to do this, I think it's essential to do it as corporations.
Tania, you wanted to share your story?
Yeah, I have a lot of stories with attorneys. So But I will tell just that when I hired my first attorney, I was scared, because when you think about legal stuff, you think about problems, always, right? So if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting with your company and starting to hire lawyers, I will say, don't be afraid. It's not just about problems, it's about protection, right? The first time I needed a lawyer was because of my franchises, and I understood that the lawyer was not there because of problems. It was there for me to protect my company. So it was good. I don't like it. I still don't like it, but it's good to have a good lawyer and to trust very much into your lawyer. I think that the lawyer and the doctor, they are must have in your family.
Absolutely. And now moving on into the fundraising section of this panel, one question that I had that I have not invested in Latin America right now. I'm an investor from an outside country. I know that the interest rates in Latin America are usually higher than in the US. And because of that, the investing in startups in this particular case are going to be less than in the US. It's easier for me just to put that in a savings account and just let my money grow by itself. How did you face any barriers for actually doing the fundraise when you compare it with peers from the US or companies that were also fundraising in the United States?
I can start with this one if you want, just my perspective on the question, and
yeah, sure,
founders can go
absolutely.
on. I've seen plenty of rounds, and yeah, as an attorney working in banking and finance, I've seen different companies in different levels. So from friends and family, the first angel to come, then when it comes to structuring in a bigger fund, and then all the way into IPOs, which is of course a unicorn, and everyone wants to have that, but not at this point in time, because you want to still hold your company in a way. But something that is important and comes in Latin America, and happens also in different countries, India, China, and several others, it's the country risk factor. As it is bigger, the way in which you can have a bigger return is also present there. So investing in this type of companies and in this type of countries, it's absolutely a great idea for people who wants to take some risk and at the same time have some safeties. So it's important if you're in the investing side to hold on and to have the reps and warrants in the contracts for you to call, to have certain shootout clauses for you to get involved into this type of a negotiation. But of course, I think investing in Latin America, and of course, countries vary from year to year as our economies does, but it is a great idea for someone who doesn't want to have a risk-free investment. And of course, non-risk-free investments, as you were saying before, come with higher interest rates. And as an investor, you can get a greater return.
Absolutely. And for you, Raphael and Tania, when you were fundraising, did you find any special restrictions for your companies because they were in Latin America, or not really?
Yeah, definitely. As a general rule, the investors will invest in a market that they know, that they can help you, right? So it doesn't make sense to go to Silicon Valley, for example, and start pitching investors if your company only have customers in Latin America. It's going to be very hard for them to help you with connections, with introductions to, for hiring and all of the support that the VC needs to give to a startup. There's also the aspect that you were talking about, because the interest rates in Latin countries are higher, there is less money available in the market in the format of venture capital. And this really creates entrepreneurship harder, okay, period. No matter what people say, it does make it hard. because there's less money available. Now you need to have more proof in order to convince the few investors that can take a bet on you. So I would say, maybe if I can create a rule of thumb, you in Latin countries, you are always one round ahead, but raising the money from the round before.
From the previous round, yeah.
From the previous round, exactly. So if in US and in developed countries, you need to maybe have a pitch deck to have the first convertible note, forget it, right? Nobody will give you money as a convertible note if you have a pitch deck. They will ask you at least for the product, and some users are ready, okay, for the convertible note. When talking about seed money, they're going to ask you for revenue. It's crazy, but it's true. You're pitching for seed money and the guys are asking, okay, how much revenue do you make? You say, what? It's not what I watch it on YouTube videos on the seed round.
and
tell me about it for a program like Shark Tank.
Right.
Exactly. As a follow-up to your answer, Raphael, did you ever consider bootstrapping instead of going to outside sources of funding? Just growing organically, slowly, like in the old days?
I wasn't crazy enough. I was passionate enough, but look, I really admire, really respect entrepreneurs who bootstrap. But there are certain businesses that it's just 10 times harder. And mine is one of them, In order for me, so basically for students who are stuck in a problem, they just snap a photo of the problem, and then we connect them with the best undergrads of the country in less than 5 minutes, 24/7 for all topics, okay? So now tell me, how can I develop the best product ever for the tutors without paying them? And how can I develop the best product possible for the students, charging them if the product is not ready yet? So, so I need to give a lot of free tutoring for these people in order to build the product. But I also asked for a lot of free tutoring. Many of our tutors tutored for 1 year for free, just because they were passionate about the idea. But unfortunately, I couldn't be in the same high standard that I respect of bootstrapping entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's just the nature of the business. You have to. It makes more sense to raise venture capital money.
Yes, if you need that explosive growth. In your case, Tania, what were you thinking when you decided, like, I need to fundraise, I need money to grow my business? Why you didn't decide to grow organically?
Because I already did. I started my business with zero, just like asking for money, 1,000 pesos, and that's how Coco started. So at that time, when I went to Shark Tank, I already have like 7 years, I'm sorry. 7 years with Coco. I started my business with just 1,000 pesos, and then just right away to go and open stores and knowing in the line, it was difficult but very fun, and also it was so much learning for me, and I am very grateful for that. But at the time I developed the network marketing model, there was a need to find investors to grow steadily and generate value, because with the network marketing business, oh my God, it's very crazy. You need money, a lot of money to keep growing, because a lot of people buy from your product. And as long as you're like selling, you keep like giving money all the time. So you need a lot of money to keep that business on. And I'm not going to lie, like the advertising has been excellent too for Shark Tank, right? So from the time I went to Shark Tank, I was just 1,000 entrepreneurs, like woman entrepreneurs. And I was already 2 years with that model. And then in just 1 year, I make 3,000. So it was a huge growing for the, like after the show. But now, oh my God, the company, it's so mature, you know, it has given me a lot of knowledge and a lot of very nice moments with my company and with the woman that I know that they're growing.
And now to end this panel, a lot of entrepreneurs right now, founders, are watching this panel, and I would like to ask one more question to each of you. What would be your best advice to Latin American startups that are currently fundraising to take their businesses to the next level? It can be anything in regards to your lawyer, the fundraising process, resilience.
I'll say three in my case, and I'll let the rest
Absolutely.
of the founders to go on and inspire us all. But when it comes to just structuring your company and all these technical aspects around the company, the first of all, it's you have to study. You have to think out of the box, try to understand the way in which the world works. So programs such as Newchip or any other, I won't just a commercial by itself, but you need to find a way in which you have a program to better understand everything that goes around startups. Two, you need to find a good lawyer and also a good accounting man. If you're that person, that's great. But of course, numbers and documents matter when structuring a company. And number three, think wisely on the next steps, because maybe you have done the first step. You already have a company set up in Delaware, or you have a company in Brazil. But before expansion, before having a lot of subsidiaries, or before thinking about going out of the box, prove your model as simple as it is, and then try to scale it. I'll say that.
Thank you, Hector.
Yeah, for me would be, okay, the romantic part, okay?
You put on that bit in this conference.
Tania, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Let me go first, because I really would like this panel to end with you. I really, really enjoyed everything that you say. I think you've been through a tremendous road. You know, I was, as we just talked about COVID-19, I was online already. You were the one who had to, you know, face many challenges. And honestly, let's be honest here. Women in general face many more challenges in this manly world, right? So if you let me share my part, and I would love this panel to finish with you.
Thank you, Raphael. Yes.
So I would say, you know, of course, there are many advices that I can give, but I would say that if I can choose a main one, be thankful for the people around you. This might sound a little cliche, I know, you know, but the truth is that in order to achieve your ambition and your aspiration, you know, which are two different things, you're going to spend a lot of time. And if I fail, right, the investors will lose money, but I will lose time, which is unrecoverable. And all those people around me would have lost their times too. So if at least you are thankful for those around, at least you're going to, you know, maintain the relationship. Goes to the stretch, as Tania was saying, you know, it's either shrinking or stretching. The relationships during this time goes all the way. So I'm very thankful for my wife, you know, that He's being very supportive during all these transactions. My co-founders, Thomas and Bart, great people who are living the dream with me. And yes, and this is what I hope. I hope to have a great relationship with all those people around me, even with the investors. When the bad times will come, then we will see how this relationship will go with the investors.
Absolutely.
So far we haven't go through many bad times yet. So yeah, this is at least what I hope to live during this time.
Thank you, Raphael. Tania, let's go with the romantic advice.
The romantic advice would be honor the struggle. Honor the struggle, because it would be a long way from entrepreneurship to, like, when you start and you think you're working for your dream, and then you own your dream at one time, and then you want more and more and more. I remember when I started, I say, I want 2 stores, and then I want 3 stores, and then I want 5, then 10, then 15. I want 100 entrepreneurs, and then I'm 4,000 now. So you need to, like, to honor the struggle and to go in the path that you know that you're working every day in what you love. Because if you don't love the path or the way, you will one day you will go down, and you won't go ahead to still working for your dream. Also, I want to go ahead with Raphael. I believe that the people is the most important part of a company, because you can have a great idea, you can have a great product, but if you don't have a great team, it will be difficult for you to succeed if you're alone. So yes, I love my team. I think leadership will be the most important thing that you have to work on. If you are not a good leader, you won't have a great team. So leadership would be my top 1.
Definitely. Thank you. So we have reached the end of the panel. Tania, Raphael, Hector, thank you so much for sharing your points of view with us today regarding entrepreneurship in Latin America. It has been great listening from people with first-hand experience in these topics. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and Newchip for organizing this panel. Enjoy the rest of the demo day. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.